The embers whisper. The crimson glow of the inferno painted the night sky, an apocalyptic canvas above the San Fernando Valley. Sarah, a budding photojournalist, watched in horror as the flames danced across the hillsides, their fiery tendrils reaching towards her grandmother's home nestled in the Topanga Canyon. The news reports had been dire, the fire unprecedented for January, fueled by an unnaturally dry winter and fierce Santa Ana winds. Evacuated from her apartment in Santa Monica, Sarah had sought refuge at her grandmother's, only to find the elderly woman stubbornly refusing to leave. "This house has seen worse," her grandmother, a woman of Cherokee descent with a deep connection to nature, had declared. "It'll withstand this fire too." But as the flames crept closer, Sarah's anxiety grew. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, the wind carrying whispers that seemed to emanate from the fire itself. When the evacuation order for Topanga Canyon finally came, it was almost too late. The fire had jumped the highway, cutting off their escape route. With the flames licking at the edges of their property, Sarah's grandmother finally relented. As they rushed out of the house, a burning beam collapsed, blocking their path. Sarah's grandmother shoved her out of the way, the beam striking her instead. Sarah screamed, reaching for her, but the intense heat forced her back. Desperate, she fled, the image of her grandmother engulfed in flames seared into her memory. She stumbled through the smoke-filled canyon, the roar of the fire echoing in her ears. The smoke was thick, acrid, clawing at her lungs with each gasp. Embers rained down, and the heat was unbearable, searing her skin even through her clothes. "Grandma, Grandma, no!" The thought was a desperate mantra in her head, but her feet kept moving, driven by pure instinct. Just as she thought she could go no further, she collapsed, losing consciousness. Sarah awoke to the smell of ash and the sound of crackling embers. The fire had passed, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Her grandmother's house was reduced to a smoldering ruin. Heartbroken, Sarah sifted through the debris, searching for any sign of her grandmother. Each charred timber she moved brought a fresh wave of grief, a hollow ache in her chest. Please, please let her be alive. Among the charred remnants, she found a small, intricately carved wooden box. It was miraculously intact, the wood blackened but not consumed. Inside, nestled in a bed of soft velvet, lay a shard of obsidian. Its surface strangely cool to the touch, despite the surrounding heat. As Sarah picked it up, a jolt of energy surged through her, and the world around her shimmered, revealing a hidden layer of reality. The burnt trees sprouted ethereal flames, dancing and swaying as if alive. Whispering voices filled the air, speaking in a language she didn't understand but somehow felt in her soul. A figure stepped out of the fire, a being of pure flame, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Sarah," the fire spirit spoke, its voice a melodic whisper. "You have been chosen." Kyle, as the fire spirit introduced himself, explained that the obsidian shard was a key, a bridge between the human world and the spirit realm. The devastating fire, he revealed, was not a natural disaster but a manifestation of an imbalance between the two worlds. An ancient prophecy foretold the coming of a fire that would consume the land unless a descendant of the Whisperer, a lineage of humans who could communicate with the spirit world, restored the balance. Sarah, through her grandmother's lineage, was the last Whisperer. A wave of dizziness hit her. Last Whisperer. What did that even mean? She was just Sarah, a photographer with a dead camera and a missing grandmother. Kyle, sensing her confusion, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It was warm, but not burning, like a comforting weight. "Your grandmother knew of this," he said gently. "She was preparing you, even if you didn't realize it. The stories she told, the connection to nature she fostered, it was all leading to this moment." He revealed that the spirit realm was in turmoil. The spirit of fire, angered by humanity's disregard for nature, had unleashed its fury upon the human world. To quell the fire, Sarah had to journey into the spirit realm, find the spirit of fire, and appease its rage. Taking a shaky breath, Sarah followed Kale through the shimmering portal. The world twisted around her, not like spinning, but like being turned inside out. One moment, the charred remains of her grandmother's home were all she knew. The next, she was enveloped in a landscape unlike any she'd ever imagined. Towering trees, their bark woven from veins of glowing ember, stretched towards a sky not of blue, but of swirling, fiery hues. Leaves of pure flame rustled in a breeze that felt like a furnace blast on her skin, yet somehow didn't burn. Strange, bioluminescent creatures like living constellations darted amongst the branches. Their forms were fluid, constantly shifting. A bird with wings of fire one moment, a shower of sparks the next. Beneath her feet, the ground wasn't soil, but smooth, obsidian-like glass, cool to the touch despite the heat shimmering in the air. A river, its waters a flowing stream of liquid gold, cut through the landscape. Along its banks, crystals taller than her sprouted like fantastical flowers, each pulsing with an inner light that seemed to breathe in time with her own heartbeat. The air itself was different here, thick with the scent of burning incense, but not choking, more like the feeling of ancient power. Sounds were amplified, not louder but closer. Whispers seemed to come from the trees themselves, the sighing of the wind carrying emotions she couldn't name. And underlying it all, a rhythmic pulse, like a giant drum beating somewhere deep within this world. Kyle, his form flickering like a candle flame in a draft, moved with a grace that was both mesmerizing and unsettling. "Stay close," he said, his voice a melodic chime that somehow cut through the cacophony. "This realm is not always kind to newcomers." Sarah nodded, clutching the obsidian shard like a lifeline. She felt eyes on her, not physical eyes, but a sense of being observed. Shapes flickered at the edge of her vision, some curious, some wary. One, a creature of swirling smoke and shadow, coalesced in front of them, blocking their path. Its eyes, if you could call them that, were voids of darkness within the smoke, burning with malevolent intent. "You are not welcome here, human," it hissed, the voice grating like stones grinding together. "You and your kind have brought ruin to our world. Your greed poisons the land, your machines choke the sky, your fires." The creature trailed off, its form rippling with what Sarah could only interpret as rage. Cale stepped forward, his own flames burning brighter. "This one is different," he declared, his voice ringing with authority. "She is a bridge between our worlds, a whisperer, a beacon of hope." The shadow spirit scoffed, a sound like dry leaves crumbling. A beacon of hope? More like a spark that could ignite a wildfire. Humans make promises they cannot keep, speak of balance while they destroy. Tension crackled in the air, thick and heavy. Sarah felt a tremor of fear, but also a strange surge of power rising within her. Instinctively, she held up the obsidian shard. It pulsed with a warm light, and a wave of energy flowed through her, tingling in her fingertips, settling in her core. With a defiant shout that surprised even herself, Sarah stepped forward. "I come in peace," she declared, her voice echoing through the strange landscape. "I seek to restore balance, not to bring destruction." The shadow spirit recoiled, momentarily stunned by her boldness. It studied her for a long moment, the darkness within its eyes seeming to shift and churn. Then, with a sigh that sounded like a dying ember, it stepped aside. "Very well," it rasped, "but do not stray from the path. Not all spirits are as forgiving." As they continued their journey, Sarah realized this was only the first of many encounters. Spirits of all shapes and sizes materialized,